All right, I want to get to this, Carl. Here are two clips from the president's interview with Bob Woodward on COVID-19 that reporters were referencing during that lengthy press briefing. Watch together.
It goes through air, Bob. That's always tougher than the touch. You know, the touch, you don't have to touch things, right? But the air, you just breathe the air. That's how it's passed. And so that's a very tricky one. That's a very delicate one. It's also more deadly than your strenuous flus. Well, I think, Bob, really, to be honest with you,
sure, I want you to.
I wanted to always play it down. I still like playing it down.
Yes, sir.
Because I don't want to create a panic.
He said he wanted to always play it down. What's problematic with that, though, is that we knew, at least at that point, the president has said he knew, that China was not playing fairly. So the American people didn't have a shot at getting the real truth. We weren't going to get it from the WHO. We weren't going to get it from China. And it looks like we got some sort of watered-down version of it from President Trump.
Well, that's one way of looking at it, and certainly, but again, if the president doesn't know everything to a certainty, then err on the side of caution. And maybe you could make the argument that he should have said masks and social distancing earlier as a result of that, particularly if he knew that it was aerosol-borne. But again, we expect perfection from people in places where perfection is not possible. And dealing with pandemics is a place where, in particular, the unknowns are large and difficult to deal with. What if the president had said at that point things that had sparked a panic? We'd now be looking back and saying he should have been more measured. So, look, is any president in dealing with a situation like this is going to look back and say, there are things I've done differently? But when it gets injected into a partisan environment like we are in the last 55 days of a presidential election, I think a lot of this is going to be partisan, screaming and shouting, and not really effective to helping move us forward as a country. Do people say things do you think Joe Biden was comfortable that his advisors like Susan Rice and Ron Klain and Ezekiel Emanuel were downplaying this all and dismissing it at a time when the administration was taking tough steps? Do you think he would, in a moment of quiet, would say, I wish they hadn't said those things, and I wish I hadn't listened to those things. I wish I'd asked differently. I suspect the same is true of President Trump as well. I think he would look back and say, I wish I had done this or that slightly differently. But these are not easy situations to deal with, and to require perfection of anybody in this, whether it's Joe Biden or Donald Trump, I think is unfair.
Yeah, I do want to point out that Joe Biden